Hello students. So last class for my 24 UP 101 EA batch, there was a confusion regarding cervical vertebra, the number of cervical vertebra and the number of spinal nerves, cervical spinal nerves. So let me clarify this thing. A quick recap. So basically we know that the spinal cord it passes through the vertebral column, right? It passes through the central canal, which is formed by the vertebral column, or I should say individual pieces of the vertebra. Now there are actually, if you look at this diagram, so this diagram is actually right. So there are actually 7 pieces of cervical vertebra. There are 12 pieces of thoracic vertebra. There are actually 5 pieces of lumbar, 5 pieces of sacral, and 1 piece of coccygeal. So it makes 7 plus 12 plus 5 plus 5 plus 1, 30 pieces of vertebra are present in the spinal cord. Okay, so let me repeat that. There are 30 pieces of vertebra or individual vertebra that makes up the spinal cord. Now, if you look at the spinal nerves, there are 31 pairs of spinal nerves. Remember, I told you that the somatic nervous system are divided into two, right? We have the cranial nerves, which are 12 pairs, and then we have the spinal nerves, which are 31 pairs, right? So again, the somatic nerves comes under the peripheral nervous system, right? So we have basically the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, and the peripheral nervous system again divided into somatic nerves, and we have the autonomous nervous system, right? So I'm not going to go into details so much, but just know that the spinal nerves, there are 31 pairs. Now the thoracic spinal nerves, the lumbar spinal nerves, the sacral and coccygeal, it's easy to understand because you see 12 pairs of thoracic nerves coming from 12 pieces of thoracic vertebra, 5 pairs of lumbar coming from 5 pieces of lumbar vertebra, and so on and so forth. But the problem lies with the cervical. In cervical, 8 pairs of cervical spinal nerves comes from 7 pieces of cervical vertebra. So how it is? So here you can see that clearly. We can see that there are actually 7 pieces of cervical vertebra. C1 is the atlas, where basically the skull is resting. Then we have the axis C2 and so on. There are actually 7 pieces of cervical vertebra. But you see there are 8 pairs of, when I say the word pairs, so students actually have to underline this or underscore this, 8 pairs. That means 8 on the left side, 8 on the right side. So there are 8 pairs of cervical spinal nerves. How it is possible? Because you see that the C1 pair, right? The C1 spinal pair, it comes from above the C1 atlas cervical vertebra. C2 spinal nerves comes from above. So here is the C2 cervical vertebra, and here is the nerve emerging from above, right? Again, C3 is emerging from above the C3 cervical vertebra. So this is happening. Once we come to the 7, you see at the 7 we have the C7 nerve is coming from above, but the C8 spinal nerve, right? So they are pairs, right? Look, this side and this side, they are coming from bottom. So when you look at the C7 cervical vertebra, the C7 nerve spinal nerve is coming from above, and the C8 is coming from below, right? So C7 spinal nerve is coming from above the C7 vertebra, and the C8 is coming from below. That's why we have 7 cervical vertebra and there are 8 cervical spinal nerves, right? So last class there was a confusion regarding this. To rest the confusion, students, so this is basically the final verdict. So one more time, 7 cervical vertebra, 7 pieces, right? But there are 8 pairs of cervical spinal nerve. I hope this will be helpful for you. Okay, wish you all the best. Bye bye.